And we welcome you to the September edition of Eye on the Storm. Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director here at the University of Rio Grande, joined as always by Athletic Director Jeff Lanham. And as we normally start off our monthly shows, we talk about how busy of a time that we've got going on. And well, I'll tell you what, right now in the middle of soccer and volleyball and cross country and bowling and golf's getting ready to start. There's a lot going on.
We've said it before, Randy, and it's the fall time, and everybody's practicing, everybody's trying to prepare all their student athletes for the year and getting everybody straight and going in the right direction. It's the nature of the game.
We had the majority of our fall sports coaches on back in August. One of the guys that we did not get the opportunity to chat with is with us today, and that's our cross-country men's and women's head coach, Bob Willey, and we bring him into the mix. And Coach, you guys got your season off and running, no pun intended, on Saturday with the Patty Forgy Invitational, and you're always running around saying it's a great day to be a runner. It was not a great day to be a runner on Saturday. Tough conditions, and but run they did.
Yeah, like you said, it was so hot and so humid, but the coaches, in all divisions did a great job, and parents, because all the athletes seem to be well hydrated, and that's the most important thing. You can't wait till the day of to be hydrated. But we didn't have very many issues. I think probably the worst race was the college men race. We had 7 drop out, and 5 of those were because of heat, but they were wise enough to get out. And again, that race started at 1:10 in the afternoon, so it was pretty warm by then.
And Bob, that heat like that, the heat exhaustion is not just something that, especially for a runner, that in an hour you recover and you're 100% ready to go. It could be something that could hurt you for months and months down the road.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. Once that thermostat goes, it's hard to ever recover. In fact, you're never as good as you were before, like you said, from withstanding the heat.
Right.
And yeah, I've had runners go down mid-season, and again, we do everything we can, but by the time nationals roll around, they're still not, like you said, where they were before.
Right.
You kind of got back to form in the fact that you had over 1,100 runners. I know it was, I guess, close to 1,300 or 1,400 at one point.
Right.
Kind of had gone down, but seeing an upturn in the number of runners that you had last week.
Yeah, it was exciting. Like I say, there's so many invitationals today that if you happen to get on the wrong one on that day, you're going to lose a lot of runners, and we had done that several years ago. But yeah, like you said, we went from over 1,400 runners probably 4 years ago to like 300 and some runners. Last year we were a little over 900, and like you said, we were close to 1,100 this past weekend. So we're getting back to where we were before.
You win the title on the women's side. I know a little disappointed in how it worked out on the men's side. Not so much in the fact that the team didn't win the title, but you and I talked earlier today. You kind of thought you'd have at least 1 or 2 individuals a little closer to the top than you actually did.
Yeah, it was. When I sat down, looked at the results. Like you and I were talking, kind of scratched my head because it was like, whoa, where was everybody here? And of course, some of it was several of our athletes were injured at the end of the spring, which took that into the summer. And when you do that, you lose a month and a half of your training. And so by losing, a month and a half of that training in the summer, you don't get it back real soon at the beginning of the year.
Now, Bob, you you do this, and you do this very well, about trying to get these student athletes prepared for a certain time of the year where they are going to be at their best. And is that for our conference? Is that for the nationals? What's your thoughts about that?
Well, with that, again, it depends on how strong the conference is. Like last year, what we did is we tried to peak our women's team for the conference championship, because if you win the conference as a team, your team goes to the national championship. So that's where we peaked last year for the women. The men, we peaked them for the national championship because we felt that we were strong enough at that time that we could get through the conference and then be able to run even better at the national championship, because it's really hard to hold a peak longer than 2 weeks.
We had a couple of photos from the meet the other day. I think briefly there you see it again. That's Lucy Williams, who unfortunately did not catch the young lady in front of her from Ohio Christian at the end. Lucy finishing second to lead the women's team toward a championship. And then on the men's side, there's Cameron Carpenter in bib number 89. He was your top finisher on the men's side, finishing 7th overall, and obviously running with a couple of his teammates at the time that photo was taken. And you guys are right back in action this weekend, and it doesn't get any easier. You head to Cedarville on Friday and running the All-Ohio Championships, and that's a whole different monster in itself.
Yeah, and looking at that picture, they were coming out of an area what we call Baby Moose, and they moved too fast in the race. In other words, they should have held back a little bit longer before they tried to make their move. I think they moved too soon, especially with the heat being what it was. Hopefully, we can make some adjustments, for that. But yeah, this weekend, the All-Ohio, every team in Ohio hopefully shows up. It just all depends on how close it is to the pre-nationals for the Division I teams, because they have a pre-national championship and kind of determines how they get to the nationals as well. And so, they sometimes will bypass the All-Ohio, right, but not very often. Usually we get every team in Ohio there, and it's always for bragging rights, not only for the college, but for the individuals, because they run against their old teammates from high school and that sort of thing. And so I know last year there were close to 50 teams.
Bob, that's you're running at Cedarville at Cedarville University there, and it's kind of a different course compared to what we have here. Level, flat, and that wind that blows all the time. Is that right too? Maybe they have some hills over there.
Yeah.
They do have some hills, running hill.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great course. Elvin King, who coached there for years, the course is named after him, and he did a wonderful job laying it out. And it's a national championship course. It really is. It'll hold the numbers. In fact, I know this year they're hosting I want to say the Division II regional championships on that course this year as well. But no, like you say, I always tell people I've been going to Cedarville since 1969. Between track and cross country, it's been nice 7 times.
You're actually supposed to have good weather this weekend, as a matter of fact.
A little cooler too, a lot of cooler.
Before we let you go, the season in general, your outlook on it. I know you guys were picked at the top of the River States Conference on both the men's and the women's side, despite the fact that you tried to tell other coaches otherwise. But you got some holes to fill on both sides.
Yeah, we really do, and again, the key is, we had a number of people graduate last year. We have a lot of new faces, but with that, it's just you just got to get people to buy into what the program is all about and what our history is. And when they don't listen, usually I say, "You're right. This is my first year to coach. What would I know?" And then some of them come around. But I know we had a meeting the other day, and some of them were just kind of looking at me like, who are you and what are you saying? And so it's scary right now, but hopefully we can, between now and then, get people to buy into what we're trying to sell, and be able to have an outstanding conference meet for the men and the women.
Well, I didn't know, before you take off, just jumping backwards maybe a little bit, about, we had high school teams here, middle school teams here as well last weekend. Do you have that list about who won those divisions? Do you know those?
Yeah. I've got them sitting here in front of me. It's just, the idea. We have a number of outstanding teams from West Virginia on this side of the state. That I mean, there's some of the top, cross country teams in the state of West Virginia.
And they were here Saturday.
Yes. I mean, you have 3 or 4 that are up in the Panhandle that are too far to travel to come over here. But the ones on this side of the state, they came to our meet and really ran well.
Right.
Looking at just there, on the men's side, you had Hurricane that won it. You had Woodrow Wilson that was second. I think Woodrow Wilson helped me with this. I think they're out of Beckley.
That's correct.
And then you had Rock Hill. Their program of just the last probably 5 or 6 years they've done a tremendous job down there. Finished third.
Then you had a women's race, right? You had all women's.
Yeah, women. Fairland won that, and then Ripley, and then Hurricane. Was with that, and then we had the middle school. You had Winfield. They've come up the last few years and have really performed well, and they were first in the boys middle school. Hurricane was second. Ripley was third. Right. So, kind of shows you there that
youth in those West Virginia schools
running very well. And then on the women's middle school, you had Ripley, Barbersville, and then Hurricane. Your top 3. So in all those divisions, you only had a few southeastern Ohio schools that snuck into the top 3.
Right.
Well, you got through the Patty Forgy last week. Congratulations on that. Good luck this weekend at the All-Ohio and throughout the course of the season. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to be with you.
That's Bob Willey, the head cross-country coach here at the University of Rio Grande. We step aside for a moment, and we'll return with more of Eye on the Storm after this. And we welcome you back to the September edition of Eye on the Storm. Randy Payton and Jeff Lanham with you. Happy to have you along. And we talked cross country in our opening segment of the show, and now we turn to the other sports going on here at Rio Grande. Men's soccer, 6-1, rolling right along, ranked number 3 in the country, heading to Brescia and Midway to open the River States Conference portion of their schedule this week. And Scott Morrissey might be doing one of the better coaching jobs that he's ever done, given the fact that it's an incredibly beat-up squad. He's not had his full complement of players all season long, yet right there they are at number 3.
Right, and I think they're down what he would call three starters at this point.
Right.
And hopefully he's looked to have a few of those back here in the next few weeks. And so they're experienced players, so they will be able, hope to be able to step in and be able to help and contribute. But to be at the point where he is right now by doing that, I said earlier, you and I talked about that we had some people that were injured, but we had a healthy Scott Morrissey, so I felt good about what we were able to do.
He is certainly earning his money as the head coach this season. As we said, 6-1 as they open. There is actually the first goal from the win against Lindsey Wilson on Sunday night. Silas Machado with a header off of a free kick by Mateus Morgan, and that ended up being the first goal in the win over Lindsey Wilson. As we said, they open River States Conference play this weekend on the road at Brescia and Midway, as does the women's soccer team. They'll take on Brescia and Midway as well. They have a 2-5 record, but I think that's a bit deceiving.
They've played a pretty good schedule.
Tony Daniels also working with not a full complement, or at least what he
Right.
thought he was going to have when the season started. And as you just said, I'll put their non-conference schedule up against anybody
Right.
in the
Yeah.
league.
They have done well. What they've shown is they've just showed progress, and it's almost every game where they've showed where they've come out and he's had goals for them and they've met those goals, and not in goals in a sense of scoring, but it's
He'll take those too.
yeah, and they're moving in the right direction. And with the win on Saturday versus Goshen, 3-0 against another Crossroads team.
Right there's
yeah.
a picture of Peyton Davis, who
Had
actually
two.
scored twice in the
Right.
first 7 minutes of the
Right.
game, and kind of got them off to a good start.
You know, they're predicting, and I was talking with actually I was at a meeting this weekend with the athletic director from Goshen. He said they'll probably finish midway through the Crossroads League, that's pretty encouraging for us, because that Crossroads has got very good women's soccer,
Right.
and you know, Tony feels good. I think he's going to have a big weekend, traveling on the road to one of the longest distances that we have to travel, playing and then turn around and going back to Midway and playing again the next day or the day after, I guess.
It has been a struggle for Belinda Donaldson's volleyball team. They lost last night here at home to Point Park, losing 3-1. They're now 3-14 overall, 0-2 in conference play. They too head to Brescia this weekend to take on IU Southeast and the Bearcats. And although they showed signs of playing pretty well last night in the third set, like I said, it's been a season-long struggle for that program.
It has, and you know, she's young.
Only has
but
one senior.
Only one senior, so you know, always the good saying about those freshmen is they become sophomores, and sophomores become juniors, and so on and so on. But it is the experience that I think is getting them. They reach that point, and then they don't know how to make it turn. And I was talking with her last night on the phone as I was coming home after the game, and she was pretty frustrated and just saying, I don't know what to do. And she just said, we just need to continue to work hard and continue to be fundamental and try to get better every day.
And that photo you saw a minute ago, if we can go back to that, that's Aaliyah Pelfrey. She's the only senior. There was actually two on the roster when the season began, but Kylan Strasbaugh, a
Right.
knee injury that finished her season back literally on the opening weekend. She's going to come back next year, but when you've got such a young squad, you rely on seniors for leadership, and it's pretty much been down to
Right.
Aaliyah Pelfrey
Right.
trying to carry that load.
Well, and she's on the recruiting trail too. I mean, she's trying to bring in additional bodies and additional players. So she feels good in the future. She feels good about that.
Let's talk a little bit about Rio Grande Bowling. We talked over the course of the summer how the program was getting started, and went to UNOH, I guess, a couple of weekends ago. The men finished 9th out of 11. The women finished 8 out of 8. And I guess essentially it's about getting your feet wet to start with, and then they're right back in action this weekend at Ball State, trying to do better.
Well, and I don't know if you don't have that clip of the first ball.
No,
ever
we don't.
bowled.
Hannah Cheeseman, one of the
Right.
female bowlers, first role in the history of Rio Grande women's bowling was a strike. So it got off to a good start.
Got off to a
but
good start. And I think I was talking with Coach Carl and Coach Little both about, tell me how it went. And he said, by Saturday they were absolutely wore out, where they were on their feet for like 9 hours and bowl one game right after the other. And you don't think of bowling as being a sport that takes it out of you, but it is. And they really understand. They've got a exercise routine that they're trying to get the kids to do and get involved with, and that was good. That was their first experience, anybody on that team, in a collegiate event. So they're going to continue to go up. They're going to continue to work hard, and they are again recruiting as well and bringing in more bodies for next year as well.
I guess the exciting thing, and again, a lot of when you talk about the sport of collegiate bowling, you've got teams from all different levels competing at one site. And one of the two teams that Rio defeated in that first event was Bowling Green, which is a school out of the Mid-American Conference and an NCAA Division I, and that's
which was right in their back
feather in the
door.
hat.
It was at Lima, so it was right in their
Right.
back door as well. So and that's a, that's a positive to see those things, and it's just some growing pains that have to take place there, I think.
Well, bowling, one new program. Golf is another new one, and it makes its debut next Monday, the West Virginia Tech Invitational over at Glade Springs Resort down in Daniels, West Virginia. And I know Coach Wilson's and his crew are eager to get going.
They are, and he is so excited about that because that is an unbelievable venue to go back to start the golf program again. And so they're young as well. They've got one transfer, so everybody else has never played in a collegiate event before, and that's kind of what happens when you're starting these programs out. So it will be a challenge for them as well to again, continue to get better every day. Their season is both the fall and the spring, with spring being the time when the winner of that event then advances to national tournament.
Couple of other things we want to get to here in our closing minutes, and one of them involves my my co-host. How about the latest class of inductees to the Rio Grande Athletic Hall of Fame? We talked to Coach Willie earlier. He's a member of that Hall of Fame, and Jeff Lanham among the 4 that will be going in the class of 2017, joining Don Traynor, Alkia Fountain, and Sarah Drabinski, and big honor for you.
It is, and I've told people that it's the position that I'm in with this. It's the people that I have around me that makes my job go. And we have good people here at Rio Grande, and that helps with what I do. So I have to give a lot of credit to those people around us. That's my team, I guess, is how I would refer to that. And it's an honor to be put in with those very good 2 women's basketball players, and then Don Traynor, who was here in the 60s, was an unbelievable high school player, played here on a very, very good college team, and now is going back into the Hall of Fame. So we're excited about that.
Formal induction will take place on Bevo Francis tournament weekend. That'll take place on Saturday, November the 18th at 7 o'clock at the Davis University Center. And if you're interested in coming, you can contact the alumni office, and they can get folks set up.
We have basketball going on that weekend as well. Hopefully we'll have some cross-country things that are going on away from here, because that's the national cross-country meet. And we probably will host a men's soccer game opening round that day as well. So, yeah, it will be a busy weekend.
You're telling me to get my rest.
Get ready. That's right.
One other thing we want to get to, Rio Grande named a Champions of Character institution for what now, about the 16th or 17th consecutive year.
Correct.
There's the logo, a silver institution this year in the range of 75 to 89 points. They have 3 different levels, and just another feather in the hat, I guess, for the athletic department.
Right, and that's talking again. I refer back to that we have good people, and with that becomes these type of awards and the honors that honors our entire program, and I think that's so important. Everybody wants to improve. Everybody wants to make our student athletes better, not only in a sport that they're involved in, but in life, and prepare them for what's going to happen with them throughout life. And that, I believe, is much more important than any wins and losses that we have, because we're all going to stop playing this sport one day, and we're going to have to know how to deal with issues, know how to deal with problems, know how to deal with highs and lows. And so we get all of that within sports, and we hope that we can portray that and make these student athletes better individuals.
We talked about all of the stuff that's coming up this weekend. When you look to the October calendar, there's only 4 days in the entire month where there's not something, whether it's on campus or off campus, involving Rio Grande athletics. And I guess the biggest day might be on the 14th, Saturday the 14th of October. That's in conjunction with the Bob Evans Festival that's going on. Volleyball is at home that morning. There's a soccer doubleheader that night, and that's just one day among many where there's plenty of activities going on.
We also just are confirmed a couple high schools are going to be playing in the afternoon as well, and possibly playing soccer, boys soccer, and then possibly a middle school game that morning. So we've got a lot of things going on.
And you can find all of that calendar info on our athletic website, which is www.rioredstorm.com. With that said, we put a wrap on our September edition of Eye on the Storm. We appreciate Bob Willey, our head men's and women's cross country coach, for joining us, and we appreciate you for dialing us up as well. Randy Payton for Jeff Lanham saying we'll see you next month on Eye on the Storm.